Welcome everybody to another special edition of the Omaha Bar Association Bar Talk video chat. I'm Dave Summers, Executive Director of the Omaha Bar Association, and I am here today with the championship mock trial team for the state of Nebraska, Creighton Prep, and their two coaches, Mark Laughlin and Pat Cooper. I don't know the names of the people on other than what they have listed, so I'm going to go around and ask the students to introduce themselves, what year of school they're in, and what role they've played in the mock trial so far.
I guess I'll start. My name is Ryan Laughlin. I am a senior, and I was a lawyer on both sides, and I did both of the openings. I directed and crossed both the officer in today's case and the defendant. Not today's case, but it's just a muscle memory. That's my bad.
Exactly. I get that. How about Alex Miller? I see you there.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alex Miller. I'm the resident freshman on the team, and I was a witness on the defense side.
All right. Finn, how about you?
My name is Finn. I'm a junior, and I also played a witness on the defense. No, sorry, prosecution. It's all leaving me now. Apologies.
All right. Benjamin.
Hi, I'm Ben Cooper. I'm a junior, and I was a lawyer on one side, and then I was the defendant on the other side.
All right. Donkey. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, my name is Donkey. I go by Kevin.
Okay.
I'm a senior here at Creighton Prep, and I was a police officer for the prosecution side, and I was one of the paramedic for the defense side.
Victor.
Hello, my name is Victor Kaminsky. I am a junior, and for the case, I was attorney on both sides. I delivered both of the closing arguments, and I dealt with both the paramedic and the drug dealer.
Okay. Sounds like an interesting case there. We'll get into that a little bit. Jack, finally, Jack.
My name is Jack McNally. I was the prosecution expert witness as a medical doctor, and then I was an attorney on the defense.
Okay. Well, I probably should let Mark and Pat introduce themselves as well. For those of you who don't know, they're attorneys at Fraser Stryker. But Mark, you want to introduce yourself and how many years you've been doing this? Actually, that's a question I should ask too.
Sure. So I've been a lawyer at Fraser Stryker since 1992, and I've been coaching mock trial for about 10 years at Duchenne at first, and then most recently at Prep.
Okay. And my former boss, Pat Cooper.
Yeah, so I'm one of Mark's partners at Fraser Stryker. I've been there since 2004, and I clerked for Judge Strom for 2 years right out of law school. Obviously, the state competition is named after him, so I kind of got into mock trial coaching when I was clerking for him. I coached at Roncalli for a couple years, and then I teamed up with Mark 8 or 9 years ago, like you said, at Duchenne, and then at Prep for the last 6 years.
And the only other interview that we've done for mock trial in this format was with Duchenne, and there was another Laughlin on that. Mark, your dad Jerry, he's been coaching for a long time too.
Right. He has coached with us when we were at Duchenne. He was also a coach at Duchenne, and then he's coached at Duchenne for the last 6 years since Pat and I came over.
Okay. Well, to the students here, can somebody give me the fingernail, the 1.5 minute synopsis of what the case is this year? Does anybody want to take that on? Distill it down to nothing?
I can, I guess. I'll take the burden. So basically, there's a defendant whose name is Jules Chappelle, and they hosted a party at their dad's house, and they bought vape pens or vaping materials from their high school classmate, former high school now, high school classmate Nick Corkian, who is known to some as a drug dealer. And there was vitamin E acetate and THC, which are both illegal substances, found in the vaping pens purchased by the defendant at the party. Also at the party is the defendant's younger sister, Dickie Chappelle, who died after maybe using one of the vaping pens. And so it's about that. And on the prosecution side, there's the officer who investigated the case. There is the person who supplied the vaping products, the drug dealer, Nick Corkian. And there is also the expert who did the autopsy on Dickie after she had died and found like vitamin E acetate in her lungs, which was also found in the vaping products. And then on the defense side, you have the defendant, Jules. You have someone else who was at the party who's a friend of the defendant's, whose name is Al Hayes. And then there's also the paramedic who escorted Dickie to the hospital, Lee Roth. So that's kind of the synopsis of the case.
And I've talked to Pat about this in the past. Sometimes there's kind of a better side you want. If there's one, when they flip the coin, would you all have it be an agreement on what side you'd rather have? You know, all things being even.
Well, for me, I would say I as an attorney personally like the defense, just because in our case, we had a lot more things to object to when we were the defense. When we were the prosecution, it was a lot more like on your feet. You kind of had to really listen in to see whether you could make an objection. And the defense, it was just a lot easier to do that. And also I was crossing the officer, and an officer in mock trial always does an awful job in his investigation. So it's always fun to cross the officer. So I personally like the defense.
Unlike real life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts on prosecution versus defense?
May be a bit biased since I really enjoyed my role as an expert witness on the prosecution, but maybe it was just a confluence of being better on a certain day during the state tournament. But I felt that we did better on the prosecution side, despite potentially the evidentiary burden being easier to meet for the defense. I think that's some combination of having very strong witnesses and the witnesses overall being written on that side in a way where it's a lot easier to get out of things on cross or to portray a strong and confident character on direct examination. And part of it is also, I felt like the attorneys had very good material for the prosecution side. It was very tight and clean.
Yeah. And how big of a stack of documents when they're giving out the materials on this? How much we're talking about? They have to go through just the information, the facts that they're giving you.
The stuff we have to go through for. Oh, I apologize.
No, you're good, Victor. Go ahead.
I was going to say the heart of the case material comes from the witness statements, and for the state competitions, they're generally about 2 to 3 pages each. It's not bad. You just have to really dissect each part. Of course, there are the jury instructions, the stipulations, the rules of evidence, and then about 13 pages of exhibits. But at the end of the day, the case packet always comes down to what's in those witness statements. And if you can know those through and through, in this case, about, 2, 3, 6 witnesses, about 12 pages of material, you'll be set for a good trial.
So with the witnesses, I guess you're trying to fill out the character more than what they're giving you, right? You have to sort of build out a little bit, because you're not going to be able to just say what the statement is. You might have to ad lib a little bit, but stay within the parameters. Is that correct? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so the rules are vague on purpose, kind of. They allow you to, make up some fact on cross-examination, and then you can kind of build a backstory on direct, but you can't go too far. You just got to stick to what was in the actual statement. But there is some kind of like interpretation aspect. So if you are better at, basically interpreting that witness statement for your own gain, then that's where, good teams are really made.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, this has been going on all year, Pat, Mark. I mean, you're coaching all year long, 10-hour days, just, doing wind sprints of much. I have no idea what goes into this. Tell us a little bit about how long, how much time goes into prep for all this.
Sure. So we start in August. The case came out in August, and we had tryouts, picked our team, kind of gave everyone their roles in late August. And then from late August until second week in January, we basically met on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays for a couple hours each session. Gave some homework assignments at some of those practices as well. So these guys had some things to do when we weren't together. And the regional competition ends in basically late November, early December, and then you have about a month to get ready for the state competition. But right now we're in a kind of a low period where we're not doing any mock trial. We've had the last month off, and we won't start again until basically April 1st when the national packet will come out.
And then when are nationals actually?
So nationals are the first or second week in May. Supposed to be in Kalamazoo, Michigan this year, but it's going to be virtual. So we'll do that over Zoom as well.
Oh, and I mean, what was it like going through this process? Some of you have been on the team for a while now. I see familiar last names, and I know you've been on it for a while, but what is it like to go through that competition process, you know, when you get to state and it's all on the line? Anybody want to talk about what it's like to remember your role and your lines and everything, and kind of that added pressure?
I can go. It's when you get to the state competition or even the regional finals, for example, there's a lot of stress because, you know, you always have that worry, is my season going to end here? But one of the nice things is that because you have such a diverse, broad team, you can put a lot of trust in them, if that makes sense. And so when you walk into these stressful competitions, it's a lot easier knowing that you've got a great team to back you up, a great team that you've been working with for months. And overall, it's just a great team bonding experience that makes us all better for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I can speak up. Sorry for cutting you off, but
No, go ahead.
A little on that. In mock trial, we know that because these are such competitive competitions that if we lose a round, it's basically almost over. So we're all very stressed and very on our toes. So probably at least a couple of people are going to make mistakes on these rounds. And the good thing about mock trial is that they don't know our scripts. So if we do mess up and we're just acting natural and, oh, excuse me, and we just keep going on, we can kind of cover those mistakes. So I did use that technique a couple of times throughout the season. So.
Exactly. Yeah. To be cool and smooth when nobody else knows what's just going on in your brain and how you're like, oh, I messed up on that. I mean, do you get? I have so many questions, but in terms of, you know, cumulative hours over the course of a year, this is like a varsity sport, right? Like, do you guys get letter jackets and everything for that? Because you should. This is crazy amount of time that you're spending on this.
Oh, we do actually, we do actually get letter jackets for mock trial. Thanks to Mr. Laughlin, who campaigned and protested to the administration about it, and finally got us the recognition we deserved. So, thank you.
I love it, Mark. I can see you sitting in front of the principal's office door, not letting them out. Just with your bullhorn, right?
That's not too far from the truth. It was a meeting with the principal and one other member of the administration, but they've been very supportive, and they did allow letterman's jackets for mock trial, and I agree with Ben that they are well deserved by these guys.
Yeah. Now, Mark, Pat, can you guys remind me of the very amazing history of Creighton Prep when it comes to mock trial? I'm gonna mess it up, so I'm gonna ask you guys to step in and tell me that history, because I know it's pretty impressive.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. So in the last 6 years, Prep has won 5 of 6 state championships and finished second in the one that they did not win in a split ballot to Duchenne. In 2019, which was the last live nationals, Prep finished second in the entire country. They went undefeated through the entire season, which is, Dave, it's hard for people who don't understand high-level mock trial, what an accomplishment that is, because there's some amazing teams that, due to the way their schedule is set up, they actually have competitions and are practicing, 10 and a half months out of the year, whereas that's not possible for us, even if we wanted to do that. And so prep has done really, really well. These guys, they've worked very, very hard over these 6 years, and when these guys came in, they definitely had the pressure, as was mentioned earlier, but they also had the talent and the drive, and these guys have more than upheld the great tradition that prep mock trial has done these last 6 years.
Where are the rings? Where are the 5 rings, Mark, Pat?
The Super Bowl gives rings, but we get trophies, and there is a trophy case. We believe it should be in a more prominent location, but there is a trophy case with those 5 state championship trophies and the second place nationals, and there's also a 3rd place trophy for a national Zoom competition that the guys did a couple of years back, and sundry things like that.
So you mentioned it, and I think this is kind of an important point. So you have regionals, and then you have a little bit of a break, and then you have state, and then there's this big old break, and then you get a new packet, right? And then you're doing that. So how do you ride all those waves instead of just a constant drumbeat throughout the year? How do you get back up for that? I mean, obviously it's national and everything like that. Unfortunately, you're not going to Kalamazoo, which also kind of raises the specter, and you're there and you're in it. But how do you reset yourself and keep fresh and everything like that going into that, without giving away any of your secrets? I don't want the secret sauce. We'll talk about that offline.
I mean, just like, yeah, we do have that break, but I would say the break actually helps. At least it helps me kind of just take a mock trial rest for a couple months, just because it's all the time. It's because you got to put everything into it. And so just having this break just kind of lets you just rest and just kind of live, do all your other things that you want to do. And then you can come back fully rejuvenated April 1st when you get the packet. And I mean, I love doing mock trial. I've done it all 4 years. So and we had the opportunity to go to nationals last year. And I mean, when April 1st came, I mean, I was reading the packet day one. I mean, you put everything into it just because, I mean, it's something I really enjoy doing. So it's really no problem for me to get back into it.
Anybody else? Are you guys watching YouTube videos of other teams or things like that? Is there any kind of light work that you're doing right now to keep the brain in shape on this?
Maybe a little bit of My Cousin Vinny, and that's about it.
There you go. There you go. I was going to ask, anybody watching Law and Order or anything like that? Yeah. So it was criminal for the state competition, and that sometimes it's criminal, sometimes it's civil. Am I remembering that right, Mark and Pat and the students? Does that mean we know if it's criminal or civil for national right now, or is it you don't know anything about the national packet yet?
We don't know anything about the national packet yet. Typically at the state level, they alternate civil and criminal from one year to the next. But I don't think the national competition has that kind of rule. Whatever state is hosting gets to develop their own case materials. So we'll find out on April 1st what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that case packet is a lot bigger than the state case packet. Victor was describing the state packet earlier. Typically the national packet is about twice as big. The witness statements are much longer. And of course, we have 5 or 6 weeks from start to finish for the national competition, which is both a blessing and a curse, I suppose. So it goes quickly.
And I always want to know, you all are so talented in what you do, and it's amazing to watch you you do the mock trial. And we're always hopeful that some of you are gonna have an interest in doing this in the future. And you know, and it's unfair to ask you what you are gonna do with your life, but does anybody have an interest in actually, you know, pursuing a maybe a legal career in some ways, or y'all going for finance and medicine and all that good stuff? What are you guys interested in going forward? Anything, any possible lawyers in the group? Fingers crossed.
Show of hands, raise your hand if you're interested in potential law.
Oh, that's great. That is great. I love to see that. Because I mean, I know that in the past I've asked that question of some of the students, and you know, a lot of them are like, yeah, law's great, but I think it's really setting me up for other things. But I'm always excited to see some of you all trying to be the dominant force in the legal community too. I know I had a question there, another question, but I can't quite think of it. Pat, Mark, is there anything that I haven't talked about that you know would be good to chat about right now?
Mark?
I'd love to hear from starting with the witnesses, but especially with Finn and Alex, who I don't think have talked too much yet, as to, you know, maybe the overall experience. Was it what you expected? What'd you think of the season, or anything you want to talk about? And I'd be interested in hearing from, you know, from others as well, but maybe starting with Finn and Alex.
Right. So I'll go first. Personally, this is my first year on the top team, which we call Prep Blue. I was on the white team last year, and I was kind of drafted up to the national team after we had some members leave. So yeah, I mean, this was really my first experience in a state competition, having, you know, such an intense trial and preparation. I mean, I can attest that the work that this team puts in is at a much higher level than any other team. I wouldn't say it wasn't expected. I knew what I was getting into, but it is worth noting that it's a significant step up.
Yeah, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I'm a freshman, like I said, so this was my first ever season of mock trial. So when we had to kind of try out, there was a sheet that you filled out, and it was like, would you like to be a lawyer or a witness? I was like, lawyers are pretty cool. Let's do a lawyer. I go to the first few practices, and I'm like, oh man, these people are pumping in time. I mean, this is a lot of commitment. And I was like, thank God I wasn't put as a lawyer. And, you know, I was like, this is crazy. I mean, this team puts in so much work. It's really unfathomable.
That is great. In terms of inside Creighton Prep, is this you talked about, you know, placement of the medals and everything like that, the trophies and everything like that. I mean, you guys have some swagger as a team who's, you know, not one, not two, not three, you know, all these state championships. You must be turning heads and getting more recognition by now as the perennial favorite every year, right? Because this is, how many teams were in this competition across the state? Does anybody know?
Well, there's like 12 districts. Each one of those districts has a good number of teams in it. I know our district had, I think, 11 or 12, and then 12 of those teams advanced to state. So there's not a bad number of teams that, you know, go on. And at the national level, there's a ton of teams that compete in this. So I mean, it's not really just like a, you know, 3 or 4 team activity. I mean, there's a good number.
Yeah.
Dave, in terms of your comment about mock trial and other activities at Prep, I think one of the things that's neat about this group is if you started asking the guys on this Zoom, you know, what else they're involved in, you know, they have a lot going on. They're getting pulled in a lot of directions, you know, from you know, wrestling and robotics and speech and debate and powerlifting and I mean, all sorts of different activities. So it's fun to watch them, you know, do those things and then come together and do this, which is just a very different activity than so many other things that they do at Prep. So many other things that Prep is known for, you know, with their history of swimming and baseball and some of the other programs that have been very successful. So they work hard at this, but a lot of other things going on kind of at the same time, since the mock trial season seems to run, you know, at least a full semester, if not most of the year.
Do you get credit for it? Is it an activity that gets academic credit, or is it considered an after school activity that's not associated with that?
Yeah, so it's like a club. It's not like a class or elective. And in terms of like swagger that we get, I would say when I came back, I got a couple pats on the back and like, oh, congratulations. I wouldn't say mock trial brings a lot of like street cred in the prep community.
What?
Yeah, no, yeah, I was surprised when I heard that as well. But, you know,
We'll be honest though.
Spinner,
I
like
apologize.
no, I was gonna say you just need like special gold necklaces or something. I don't know. Yeah, MT, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Victor, go ahead.
So I was gonna say that although mock trial might not be the most popular thing in high school, it's definitely a great thing for college applications, for scholarships. It's honestly like the first thing I put every single time, because not only is it really cool to be a state champion, but it looks really good, especially when I want to go into law. So honestly, if there's anything I'm doing at prep that is setting me up for my future, helping me get into college, it's mock trial.
Yeah, and I know having done some college interviews that prep is very big on doing a lot of activities, being well-rounded, and so mock trial cannot be the only thing that you're doing. They simply won't allow it, and it's just not what they expect of their students. So it's a good point, Pat, that there's a lot of other things that are pulling for your time, so that makes it even more impressive. Not just a one trick pony like some of us.
Yeah, and the school gives great support, I mean, to the program. We've got a teacher coach in Martha Lamar who might be the only lawyer teacher coach of any program in the state. She's been great. You know, the school let these guys kind of get away from school for the week of state. Tried to make it like a normal state competition. Normally you get to travel, you know, you're staying in a hotel in Lincoln or something like that. So we stayed in a hotel in Omaha for 3 days, kind of made it more of an event. And you know, I think it's more fun for the guys, more of an experience, and also lets them kind of really focus and drill in on, you know, the competition. So great bonding experience for them and kind of community building, I think.
Important question I have for y'all here. When you're doing a Zoom version, you can wear whatever shoes you want. You don't have to wear dress shoes. You guys got some favorite, you know, Jordans that you're wearing, or you know, special sneakers? I've seen some pictures of the full suits with the sneakers. You know, you got lucky pair that you guys are wearing or anything like that?
no, just my normal shoes. Nothing special.
I think there was a picture early in the year though at school where everyone was in their suits, and I think there might have been 2 pairs of dress shoes in that picture if I remember correctly. So they were comfortable this season. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, all these Zoom interviews that I've done, I am actually dressed up. I have to say, sometimes it was very much jeans on the bottom with all these Zoom recordings. So, but you dress the part, right, and you play the part. So it's always good to put those dress threads on. So we have some seniors here. Any plans for college that you can let us know about, or anything like that?
Evan, do you want to share your news? You just got that news this week, right?
Yeah, sure. So before this interview, I was at the gym, hitting some workout. Then I was taking a break. Yeah, taking a break. Then I saw that my Boston University application came in. So I'm going to Boston University on the College of Engineering program.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats. Congrats,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Wow.
I'd say-
Engineering, huh? Yeah.
The mock trial was definitely I don't know, just putting that mock trial state champion title on my resume was a big factor of my acceptance, I believe. Yeah.
Boston's such a great college town. You're gonna
I
love
love
it out there.
Love
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah. Any other college news or anything else that you guys want to talk about here? I'm literally out of questions. So Mark, Pat, you guys can step in here and help me. But I'm really enjoying talking to you all, and I'm really excited. I got one question I should ask. Can we watch nationals? Is it something now that is streamable for those who are at our computers?
I don't think so. If I recall correctly, the way they did it last year, only the very final round, championship round of the two finalists was streamed. Is that your recollection, Mark?
Yes.
It could be an extra logistical headache for them, I guess. I could see that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you all have been recording, right? Some of your sessions and kind of watching the back and taking notes as it's gone forward.
So all the trials were recorded by the state bar. I don't know that we ever really spend a lot of time rewatching our own trials. We do occasionally in practice ask the students to film themselves and then watch it back so they can see what we're talking about when we're offering some feedback. It's easier to watch it and understand some of the feedback they get, but they did send us some Zoom links for all the trials from the state rounds. So those are preserved out there if anyone decides they want to go back and relive the experience.
Sometimes that can that can be a little bit much for the psyche, though, right? In the moment, you'd rather have the feeling in the moment than see every or whatever, or maybe that's just me again.
Well, I will say this though, it's fun. So I can't remember, maybe it was a few months ago, someone sent me the link to the national championship trial from 3 or 4 years ago, and to watch Ryan Laughlin in that trial as a freshman. He was a little shorter. His voice might have been a slightly higher pitch, and he's just a different kid than what I got to watch this year. So it's really fun to watch that kind of transformation of these kids as they grow up, and so that part of it is fun to go back and kind of compare where it started and where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I know you say that, Mr. Cooper, but for me, I mean, whenever I sit down, I'm like, oh, like if I felt like I had like a good cross, I'll be like, oh, that was a good cross. I don't want to like rewatch it and be like, oh, well, I missed that. Oh, should have gone. Oh, so that's a yes. Like, I don't want to taint the memory. So I'm trying to stay away from those recordings as long as I can.
There are no NFTs. You guys aren't making NFTs and selling these to other kids at school. You can make all your money off of this. Come on.
That sounds like something Jack McNally would, be right up your alley.
Yep.
Currently, not a big demand for mock trial NFTs at our school, so maybe someday, though. Maybe someday.
Well, around the city, around the state, I assume, and certainly parents. Chocolate bars are out, NFTs are in, right?
Dave, you laugh, and it's true, but in terms of the street cred of a football team compared to a mock trial team, and that's the society that we live in. But I might compare us. If you go to the Huskers, the football team, there's 27 articles in the World Herald every day, and the football team stinks. And there's about 9 articles every day on the Nebraska basketball team, and they stink. And there's one article every other week on the Nebraska women's volleyball team, and they have put together a culture and a program and a tradition and a process that is better than any team in the last 40 years in Nebraska. And in all seriousness, I don't really care how much street cred mock trial has versus football and basketball. I could care less. What I do know is that these guys are the best. And there's no program at Prep, academically or athletically, that is better than these guys. And I don't say that, that's not a bias, that's just the objective facts. And so I'm really proud of these guys. And, the other thing too, I'll say, this is the first time, thank you so much for doing this, because this is the first time that we've all been together here in a while. And certainly the first time since the state championship that we've been together where we're talking about us and about mock trial. And, I just look around and it just reminds me, what these guys achieved and how much hard work they put in and what kinds of people they are. And, I look around at Alex Miller and I think, why did we even put him on the team? And how great, he turned out. I look at Ryan, who's, kind of our captain this year and a 4-year guy, and how he was a top scorer and where he's been. I look at Kevin Lee, and, we took a chance on Kevin, not once, but twice, because he was the only person who played 2 witness roles for us. And one of them was the officer who, as was referenced earlier, had the toughest cross. So we knew whoever we put had to be smart and able to handle it. And I just think about how Kevin, raised his game. I look at Ben Cooper, who was on our top team last year as a witness, but came over to a lawyer, and how he's matured, and Ben played our Jules Chappelle and was just amazing. And for a couple years, has in terms of a certain kind of character, is just so incredibly great and gives us so much more coverage than we would have without him. I looked at Victor, who, again, as a lowly sophomore, we cast him as a lawyer on last year's team, and he was good. But I just think, and Victor knows, and we all know how far he's come. We protected him last year, and this year he had to do it all on his own, and he did a damn good job. I look at Finn Navratil, whose witness scores were as good as anybody this year. He was an awesome drug dealer comedian, and he's cut his hair. If you interviewed him the day after, actually, I think you might have had to interview him on the actual state championship day, because he had about 3 times as much hair as he did, and he looked a little smarmy or schmarly or whatever he did. And he knows, and everybody knows, that he might have made more progress than anybody year over year. And I look at, one of my soulmates, Jack McNally, and he played this expert who no one could get anything on, and it was just such an incredibly perfect role. And one of the reasons that we would have considered going with the prosecution that was not the strongest side of the case was Jack, and because we know he would slaughter anybody who came after him. And we won this case on the prosecution side, that we still think was the harder side, in large part because our witnesses did so well. So I look around, and each one of these guys has worked hard and has gotten so much better and was part of something really special. And so for me, and sorry for kind of rambling a little bit, but these guys should be darn proud of what they did, each and every one of them, and we sure are.
Very well said. Very well said. And the team aspect is just it's so special, right? When you get a team of people that you can, looking to your left, looking to your right, they're going to be there for you, and you've all grown and worked so hard together. not everybody understands it, but those who do understand how important it is to have that team culture, like you said, Mark, that is so strong and makes the team just so successful. Absolutely. Pat, Mark, you guys have been doing this for a while now. You're going to continue to coach into the future. There's no swan song on any of this.
We're not quite ready to be done yet. It's big time commitment. There'll come a time when we're ready to be done, but we've got a little more work ahead of us. So not yet.
Well, and Fraser Stryker giving you guys the time and support to do this is huge. I mean, the firm's obviously near and dear to me for all that you've done, Pat, and everybody at the firm has done for the Omaha Bar Association. So it's a mutual love admiration society. And you guys, I'm so proud of everything you've done. I look forward to following you at nationals. Please keep me up to date, and I'll push it out to all the members on social media as it goes along, because I want them to see how you guys are doing, and I know you'll do great and represent Nebraska fantastically. So thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Best of luck, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you as OBA members in a few years. How about that? I'm always recruiting. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it.
Dave, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.